It's over 9,000!
Welcome, Super Elite Warriors, to Final Forum, a podcast for the discussion of all things Dragon Ball. I am your host, Jelli, an elite recruiting member of the Frieza Force on a mission to find the best warriors from across the galaxy to join the greatest army of all time, and I am joined, as always, by my new recruit co-host.
This is the Bekinney, and join us as we uncover the cultural inspirations and hidden history behind Akira Toriyama's seminal franchise.
And we remain in geosynchronous orbit around a planet in the same system as Rigel Kentaurus.
Okay, we're explaining things this episode, right? I mean, we can't just not tell people things because it's October. Can we?
What? What do you mean, random filler episode where nothing happens because it's slotted in October? However, could we just put our lives on pause because it's Dragon Ball-oween?
If you have this sort of omnipotent control over the course of our lives, why can't you exert it in ways that make our lives easier instead of filled with constant near-death experiences?
No time to ponder that. It's time to just get right into this week's topic. And this week, it is Dragon Ball-oween here. Things are spooky here in the land of Final Forum. And they're not actually because you can only do like scariest Dragon Ball something so many times.
Yeah.
So what we do in October, because even though we love October and we want to try and celebrate in what way we can, we go with the theme of like costumes, like what other things Dragon Ball creatives worked on that are not Dragon Ball. Gives us an opportunity to talk about other things that we like, which we never do in the regular show.
Never.
and just gives us it like helps us to expand ourselves and also expose our listeners to a variety of things aside from just Dragon Ball. And in the past, we have looked at Osamu Tezuka's on Dracula, we've looked at Godzilla 1985, we've looked at the Halo franchise, we've looked at Drunken Master, we've read through and watched through Sandland, and we did a commentary on the Ghibli movie Castle in the Sky. So we've done some pretty cool stuff. Here for our fourth year of Dragon Ball-oween, we're not technically really looking at something that someone on the creative team worked on, because we're looking at 1986's Journey to the West. I'll real briefly, before we get into a quick summary of the episodes that we watched. Normally, I'll just say, and normally in our Halloween episodes, we like to talk about a Dragon Ball creative team member, voice actor, or person otherwise involved in Dragon Ball while looking at a movie or show they worked on that wasn't Dragon Ball. But we are 4 years into our show and thought we would like to take some kind of look finally at Journey to the West. Now, the novel is over 2,000 pages long in its unabridged form, and a lot of film adaptations are known for kind of plowing under or through a lot of the story and subtexts out of necessity, or only focusing on certain small pieces of the story. So what to do? Well, that's where we said, hey, let's look at arguably the most well-known adaptation of the story, that the 1986 Chinese television event Journey to the West, which was a 25-episode adaptation that has become lauded as one of the pioneers for artistic representation of China's traditional traditions and values, and helping break many of the stereotypes associated with Chinese culture internationally. Now, the obvious way that this crosses over with Dragon Ball is that Dragon Ball is inspired in large part by Journey to the West, as admitted by Akira Toriyama himself. We'll circle back to our notes in a minute, but I want to just talk about what episodes we watched.
Yes.
We watched just 10 of these 25 episodes. And actually, there's then a sequel series later on with 15 more. So there's 40 total episodes. We watched 10 of them. I actually think the more I've been thinking about this, we are always looking for reasons to get together for those quick little informal episodes. Maybe once every few weeks, we'll cover like 2 or 3 or 4 more episodes of Journey to the West and just kind of talk about those, what's going on in the world, what's going on in Dragon Ball, that kind of stuff.
I love that idea, mostly because I actually really enjoyed watching these 10 episodes, and I was planning on continuing the series on my own free time. So yeah, I that sounds pretty good to me.
We'll have to suss that all out because we're recording this quite a bit before October, frankly, people. So we'll just kind of see how things go. But so yeah, we watched just the first 10 episodes, and so the first episode, did you do episode summaries or no?
I have like a quick, like kind of like the high points of the story through those first 10 episodes, not like a episode by episode thing.
Perfect.
Okay, so before I start, as Jelly just said, this is for 10 episodes. There's actually like 40, so take whatever I say here with a grain of salt. If I contradict something that happens later on in the story, I plead ignorance. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
As you've probably guessed, the show is a chronicle of the adventures of Sun Wukong, Bajie, Wu Jin, and Tang Sangzang as they journey in search of the Buddhist sutras from Western Heaven, which is ostensibly India. The first 4 episodes deal mostly with Sun Wukong's backstory, and then he joins Tang Sangzang's pilgrimage in the 5th episode. It's kind of glossing over a lot, but essentially Wukong gets explosively birthed from a mountain, raises hell on Earth, gains immortality, then becomes a real problem for the Jade Emperor and starts raising hell in heaven. He's then tricked by the Gautama Buddha and ultimately imprisoned beneath a mountain. There he is freed by Tanzanzong, and they kick off their journey. Over the next 5 episodes that I've seen so far, and as I mentioned before, I am actually pretty interested in finishing, so I'm looking forward to that. They further recruit more allies, with the more prominent characters being Zhu Baji, who's a boar, and Xiao Wujing, which is like a man-eating monster, but he was like exiled and reincarnated back on Earth as a monster. He was exiled from heaven for offenses against what was it? He like hit on somebody's wife or something like that. I'm not sure if I quite caught all of the detail in that story. But what follows are the beginning of their labors as they complete their journey. The stakes of each encounter vary, ranging from mundane encounters where Wukong does something offensive and then must atone and make things right, to outright ambushes by supernatural beings. The tales of the first 10 episodes kind of give you the same feel as Aesop's Fables, like it's entertaining lessons in ethics and morality, but with like a key difference of having a consistent cast that portrays these characters as opposed to like individual little stories, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it makes for a stronger telling because essentially you have characters that start off as flawed beings and they try to learn from their mistakes and ultimately become better for it, which is kind of the whole point, right?
Yeah.
And then just as a quick kind of like on the aesthetics of it real quick, the visuals are rough by today's standards. I will not lie to you. But when you think about like when it was made, some of the effects are actually pretty clever. And if nothing else, at least the costumes are pretty colorful and distinct. Like it's very hard to kind of mix up your characters. There's also a lot of very physically exaggerated movement that feels way more like watching a stage play, which as we go through the notes, I'm sure is something we're going to talk about. And these actors are 100% committed to their roles, no doubt. What results basically is a show that has a lot of charm, or at least way more charm than you would think at first glance. It may not look like much at first, but if you give it an honest chance, I think you'll be pleasantly surprised and you'll find it to be something you enjoy.
Yeah, the makeup and costuming are like on point.
Oh,
I
yeah.
think I think like hats off to Liu Xiao Ling Tong,
Oh, the
the
guy that plays Sun Wukong. Gotcha.
Sun Wukong, yeah, for like it could not have been the most fun thing in the world constantly getting into that makeup.
Yeah, I'd imagine not.
Especially knowing some of the stuff about the production of this show. Sounds like there were probably some very long days shooting outside where you can't control the temperature. Probably not the most fun stuff in the world. But yeah, I generally really did enjoy watching this. I will say I was kind of shocked how much I really disliked Sun Wukong.
Yeah, he is a jerk, isn't he?
Right? I was like, oh, he is the worst.
I fully understood why they stuck him under a mountain for 500 years.
Yes.
Did not
And then
blame them one bit.
And then even when he gets out, he's still a jerk. Like, it'll be very interesting if we circle back to this. And I plan to, so even if we don't end up doing them as episodes, I would like to still. But I fully expect that to like shift a lot, right? Because that's my understanding is that's the point. The point
Yeah.
is this character who starts off as like kind of the worst, frankly,
Yeah.
ends up being redeemed and becoming a Buddha, actually. And that's like sort of the point is like to reach enlightenment and to achieve enlightenment and to cast off the bad parts and become good. So I just was like, for the first like 4 or 5 episodes, he does get better. A, once you bring in Tan San Song, and B,
Yeah.
especially I think once we get Zhu Baji. Once Zhu Baji is there, and he is like actually the worst. Like,
Yeah,
he's
it actually
constantly-
it gives Wukong somebody to like realize, oh no, I can be a better person because I already am a better person than this guy.
Yes, exactly. It gives him like a moral like low bar to keep pulling up on and be like, and I wonder if he'll have a moment where he's like, wait a minute, is this how everyone feels about me? Like,
I'm waiting for that. I'm hoping there's a moment like that.
because yes, Jubaji is like, they're like, hey, we're on this mission, and he's like, yeah, I don't feel like walking anymore, or like. They'll be like explicitly told you're about to be tested, and then like a beautiful woman will be like, I want you to marry me, and everyone's like, well, no, we're clearly being tested, and he'll be like, no, let's just like let's look, come on, we come on, let's
Is
just get
this
married.
really has anybody explicitly said this is the test? He also he has also a couple moments in there where he also kind of like appeals to Wukong's worse traits,
Yeah,
where he tries to like trick Wukong into doing something that he knows neither of them should be doing.
yeah. Once he arrives, I think Wukong gets to be a more likable character, and I imagine that continuing. Yeah, there's some really good stuff in there. I really liked all the stuff with Lao Tzu. I thought was really good, really
Mhm.
well done. With like the eightfold furnace and all that stuff. I thought the like I said, the makeup was really good. I thought the episode where they were like stealing stealing fruit from the one banquet just reminded me like of like we've talked about like peaches and stuff like that, like peaches of
Yeah.
immortality. And so I thought that was really interesting stuff. Oh, okay, yeah. So we had all that stuff with like there was like the whole episode with peaches and how the peaches are like in the they were in the banquet up in heaven, and if like every one that you eat gives you years of immortality or whatever.
Yeah,
And
it was
that
like
episode
something
just
crazy, like 14,000 years or something like that.
yeah, that episode kind of reminded me of we talked recently about the Queen Mother of the West, Ji, which was that Ji Wangmu in our
Hmm.
uh in that one episode that we did fairly recently where we like talked about Bluebirds of Happiness and the Wizard of Oz.
Okay.
The peaches just reminded me of that, like the Peaches of Immortality stuff. So I thought that was a fun, fun little thing. I like that their horse has no stand-in in Dragon Ball, right? Like Tan Sanzang is Bulma, and Goku is
Yep.
Wukong, and Oolong is Zhubaji, and Yamcha is I can never
Jing?
think of the third. Yeah. But their horse has like no stand-in, and I think it's like funny that the horse is like actually like this like
It's a
awesome
dragon,
elaborate
isn't he?
dragon. He just turns into a white horse.
And then, like, he never pops up in an episode. I think there was, like, one episode where he popped out of his horse form.
Yeah, he just is constantly like a horse.
Yeah,
Like,
it's just constantly a horse.
you're just like riding around on this horse that's actually a dragon.
I think the one time, like, he actually changes from being a horse is when the other three screw up so bad that he has to, like, intervene to save them.
Is it the episode where they were stealing the ginseng fruit?
I don't know if it was that one specifically. That's the other thing is these episodes are also, what are they, 45 minutes apiece, I think it is?
Yeah.
So there's a lot that happens in them, and then also, like, the subtitles on the version that I saw were not great. I watched on
Right.
YouTube, which, by the way, the whole thing is up on YouTube for free if you guys are worried about that. But you can check it out there.
You can even check out. Did you check out the dubbed version is on YouTube?
Oh, really? I didn't know there was. Well, that's fine. That'll make the watching the rest of it, I think, probably a little easier.
I checked it out
I wanted
just
to
get
a full experience.
I checked it out to get a feel for what the dub was like, and it was actually kind of what you would expect, like not terrible.
Okay.
But yeah, it was a decent little dub. So yeah, it was a fun watch. Before we get into the series proper and talk about some of the production behind it and the actors and stuff, we can still put our spin on this a little bit by talking about the credited author of Journey to the West, Wu Cheng'en. As author of this story, he's sort of tangentially tied to Dragon Ball, as his characters would go on to inspire the creation of many of Dragon Ball's most beloved characters, and certain moments from Journey to the West are lifted wholesale into Dragon Ball. So let's talk about Wu Cheng'en. He was a Chinese novelist, poet, and politician who lived from about 1500 to about 1580 during the Ming Dynasty. Born in Lianshu, Jiangsu province, his father was well educated and worked as an artisanal laborer to pay the bills. But he loved literary pursuits as a hobby, and Cheng'en picked up on that love himself. Wu Cheng'en took the civil service exam in the hopes of becoming a bureaucratic official several times before finally gaining access to the Imperial University in his middle age. He had several postings but did not enjoy the work and spent the rest of his life writing stories and poems in his hometown. He made friends with his contemporaries but remained poor, and eventually, with dissatisfaction over the political climate of the time and his continued financial struggles, spent much of the rest of his life as a hermit.
So though Wu Cheng'en is considered by many scholars to be the author of Journey to the West, it cannot be stated with complete surety. For starters, the novel was not published until 1592, which was after his death. Also, it was published anonymously. At this time in China, fiction was seen as vulgar and undignified, and fiction writers published anonymously to maintain their social status. Though Wu was not attributed as the author until the early 20th century, those in his hometown believed it to be his and began keeping official records that he was the true author as early as 1625 in their town history. And though there remains some debate about whether Wu wrote the novel as many consider it today, it is established that he wrote a story called Journey to the West. So Anthony C. Yu, who is a literary theorist, sinologist, theologian, scholar, and professor who completed the first full translation into English, has stated that though there remains debate over how much of the story Wu wrote, how much he merely compiled, how much was added to by other authors over time, and whether an official author even can be established for something that existed as oral folklore, Wu Cheng'en remains the most likely author of Journey to the West. His writing is known for being critical of society's corruption and bureaucracy, and he was described as having a defiant spirit, writing in the vernacular speech rather than the more formalized language of his peers that was deemed appropriate at the time. He strove to write stories that were not merely supernatural, but dealt with the follies of men as well.
It's a pretty this is why Journey to the West survives, is because it's so transgressive for its time. It's being written in the vernacular like that makes it accessible to anyone who can read, not just the extremely well educated. Right? It's the equivalent of back when churches used to do everything in Latin to now being in English. You make it appeal to more people. not just the extremely well educated. Or at least that's the idea, right? You make it more accessible.
Yeah.
So, yeah, interesting little bit of history there, I think. This adaptation of Journey to the West was greenlit in 1981 after the end of the Cultural Revolution and the death of Mao allowed the government to embrace its traditions more openly again. Reformist leader Hu Yaobang sought to dramatize Chinese literary classics on state-run television, and his close friendship with party leader Deng Xiaoping allowed him to push the project into production. A note here, there's a lot of history here with China's Communist Revolution and subsequent Cultural Revolution, and the very, very overly short, way simplified version is, please read more if you're interested in it, but Mao rose to power pushing communism, but felt some leaders were still holding too much to capitalism and tradition, Deng Xiaoping among them. During the Cultural Revolution, Mao persecuted these people and those who had been friends or allies who had actually helped him in the past, Deng Xiaoping among them. They were sent for re-education and work. As Mao's health failed, people like Deng were brought back to the political leadership because they had experience and were said to be rehabilitated. When Mao passed, they pushed a more progressive agenda, which ironically is conservative in that it sought to bring back some of China's traditions that communism had sought to stamp out. Now, feel free, anyone out there listening, to @ me in the comments, the reviews, whatever, correct me. That is a 3-sentence summary of 3 decades of Chinese history. So I get it if I get something wrong.
I don't know enough to dispute it.
So back to this. Yang Ji, a prominent party director, was brought on board and given a lot of authority over the project. Due to lack of personnel and budget, she handled overseeing the budget, casting, location scouting, writing, and editing. She insisted on location shooting whenever possible and spent months researching around China for good locations. Due to the lack of familiarity among Chinese communist filmmakers with modern media, the decision was made to stick to Peking opera depictions as reference points, and as such, many of the cast members had background in Peking opera. If you recall, we spoke of Peking opera a bit during our Drunken Master episode, as Jackie Chan got his start in Peking opera as well. And that's, like Bekinney mentioned, there's a lot of very over-the-top theatrical kinds of performances, as if people are projecting to an audience way in the back and not being subtle about it. And that comes from this all being sort of derived from Peking opera. That's also where you get a lot of the there's a lot of flowery movements to things. There's a lot of very obvious almost dance-like choreography in the fighting. They made some efforts to try to keep that lower, but it still gets through. And then casting for this show was also crazy.
Yeah, so let's dig into that a little bit. So Sun Wukong's casting makes some sense. So with, and I hope I'm saying this right, Liu Jiao being cast as he came from a family lineage of relatives who specialized in portraying Wukong in Peking opera, but his voice does not appear in the show as it's dubbed by 2 different actors, Li Shihong and Li Yang. Wang Yue was cast as Tang Sangzang, but left after filming 4 episodes to pursue a film career. Zhu Xiaohua replaced him, but also soon departed the show in order to attend university. Replacing him was Chi Chongrui, who by this point was recruited because Yang Jie happened to pass him in the hallway. All Tan San Zong performers were dubbed by Zhang Yunming, perhaps in an attempt to give some semblance of uniformity to the performance, seeing as they switched actors so many times. Zui Bajie and Xia Wujing were played by Ma Dehua and Yan Huali, and dubbed by 4 different actors, and both characters were recast when the show received a sequel series in 2001. Lin Jiquan, who portrays Erlang Shen, was brought on as action choreographer to ensure the Peking opera-trained actors still brought a sense of gravitas and impact to the battle scenes and didn't make them overly dance-like. But as we said, it still kind of came through a little bit in some spots.
Mm-hmm.
In fact, the only actor who really is tied to this show and the role is Yu Xiaoling Tong, who has become one of the most well-loved actors in China and is mostly known for playing Sun Wukong across multiple appearances in media over the decades. He considers himself something of an ambassador for Wukong, though he is critical of other depictions, including Goku, believing they do not capture the true Chinese spirit of the character. The filming of the show was chaotic, with the entire season being shot on a single Sony BVP300 camera. Limited resources and planning leading to actors being injured during wire work sequences that saw wires frequently break, and last-minute stunt doubles were hired among athletes from local sports schools to finally mitigate the injuries to the actors. Low budget caused Yang Jie to call for as much practical effects work as possible, including utilizing pyrotechnics and flames instead of special effects, which creates hazardous working conditions. And Ling Tong recalls that while filming his battle with Red Boy, his suit was lit on fire with nothing protecting him but a layer of cotton, and he passed out due to suffocation, which I think I know what scene that is, and I remember watching it and thinking, I think that man just died.
Almost.
So it turns out that he did in fact almost die. So yeah, if you watch that, you'll know which scene I'm talking about when you finally get to it. During the sequence when Wukong is inside Lao Tzu's furnace, the fire burned out of control of the staff and burned the fur off the monkey suit.
So yeah, very, very calm, easy days on set with your single camera.
As if being out in the Chinese countryside wouldn't be warm enough in that outfit. Here, let's set him on fire on top of that.
I just imagine a single camera every time this show does like a shot reverse shot type of thing. You are like,
yeah, you're having to reblock and everything.
Your single camera around, like, oh my goodness, what a nightmare. And I also like remember seeing like the budget for this was like the budget for this entire 25 episodes was like 3 million won, I think is what they were using at the time. And that was like the budget of a single episode of the 2001 sequel series. So like
literal shoestring budget.
Yes. But so like just seems like crazy stuff. So yeah, using a single camera also meant individual episodes could sometimes take months to complete, and the government began to accuse Yang Ji of squandering national funds. The season was only completed when a cast member, and I looked up the cast member, it's not like any of the named characters, it's a guy who plays like Honorable Guard number 14 or something, like in heaven. Helped secure a loan from the China Railway. And even then, 5 of the episodes that were planned were partially filmed were never finished and were instead adapted and essentially remade completely as part of the second season, which began production in 1998. The first episode to be completed was episode 13 and was aired as something of a pilot in 1982 on National Day, which National Day in China is the day that they celebrate like Mao rising to power and the communist takeover being completed. This episode was received so poorly that the episode was pulled from television and reworked over months, as well as other episodes which were nearing completion, all resulting in further reshoots and editing that took until 1986 to complete. It all seems to have been worth it, though, to an extent, as the show was met with rave reviews upon release and received almost 90% of viewership during its 1986 season. Show's musical themes have become household tunes in China, and those first 25 episodes have been rebroadcast in the country over 2,000 times. As mentioned before, a second season was produced in 1998 and released in 2001, and though it wasn't as smash a success, it was still met with very positive reception. Yang Jie has said of the show, quote, "People often express their love for Journey to the West to me, but every time I hear that kind of thing, I regret that I didn't do it better. If you ask me why so many people love this TV adaptation, I think I know the answer. In those days, my whole crew and I were working for art, not for money, fame, or personal benefits." Unquote. And that definitely seems to be the theme of this show. Is we mentioned, like, certain things do not hold up, certain visual aspects look rough, certain like visual effects do not hold up. Like, there's the practical effects do, because they were actually lighting people on fire, but but like, you know, anytime they try and do like a visual effect with Sun Wukong growing or shrinking or something like that, it really does not hold up that well. They had like no money and no knowledge either, and they were behind a like cultural wall of they couldn't just go out and talk to other filmmakers because they weren't really allowed to, because you don't play nice with the capitalists, you know? So there's that aspect to it. And then also, like, I noticed and it's I find this stuff charming, me personally, when I watch stuff like this. Like, I noticed the Tong Sanzong actor change. Not
I gotta
explicitly,
be honest, I didn't.
not like super explicitly, but I was like, boy, looks completely different in this episode. Did they light him differently? Did they do different makeup on him? He just looks so different. And then I looked it up. I was like, oh, it's played by 3 people. Okay. Like, um,
I honestly
I
didn't notice. I just like, but I chalked it up in my head as to just like, oh, I guess it just looks weird because it's the '80s and it's old film.
it also, like, again, I find this kind of stuff charming. Sun Wukong sometimes looks like the makeup, not so much like the prosthetics, the hair, but literally like the makeup. Like, he has like gold on his eyes, and
Hmm.
in from like shot to shot, sometimes the tone and spread on that makeup seems wildly different. And then you end up learning that the show, like, an individual episode might possibly have taken 5 years to complete, and you're like, oh, okay,
Whoa,
that makes that makes
that
sense.
makes way more sense.
There's the episode where he's battling Erlang Shen, and Erlang Shen transforms into a dog and chases him. I swear, if it's not 2 different breeds of dog, it is definitely at least 2 very different dogs. And it's like just passed off as the same dog, like just chasing him, and it's like changes from shot to shot. I found that just so fun and funny and charming. And then you learn that, like, yeah, no, probably they probably like filmed it with 1 dog and then had to do additional reshoots or coverage or something later, and the dog was probably no longer available. Like, they were like, "What did that dog look like, anyways?" I just get that one's close enough. It's close enough.
That's wild,
So
man.
I find stuff like that charming, and then and endearing and funny. Also, like, I have an level of enjoyment of it on an ironic level as well. And then when you also learn, like, what makes it endearing, I think, is the level of attempt that was put into it, right? These everyone really was trying their very, very best. And
Yeah,
that makes it very endearing and very authentic.
I think it's the earnestness. I think makes the goofy more charming than silly.
Yes. Yes. That's a good word. It's earnest. Everyone's put it's not ever taking the piss out of itself.
Yeah,
It is always
like these people are legitimately trying to tell a story that they think is very important to them.
right. And sometimes doing a really good job too. That's the other thing that makes, like, true like camp charm, is when occasionally you see how people making it could have thought, "Oh, this is really good."
Yeah.
And I don't mean camp in a way to like attempt to disparage this. I think this is, as we mentioned, for being extremely low budget, made with like no help from anyone, made under accusations by the government that they're like stealing the money. I think it does a. It's more just contextualizing it. I think they did a really good job.
Yeah, especially when you start to bring in the whole point about the government like levying accusations against them that they're thieving. Like that's especially for somebody living in China under that government, that can't have been a good day in the office. There's no way that was a good day in the office.
In 1987, they did a special 2-hour event on the Lunar New Year. That was like a. What I'm reading about it makes it seem like it was like a behind the scenes Q&A, guest appearances, extravaganza type of thing, right? Like a
Yeah.
that kind of a thing. It was like, so this is 1987, so the show has aired or been airing. It's mostly aired at this point. Just to show you how like popular the show was immediately. This special 2-hour television special, when it premiered, was attended by the premier of the Chinese Communist Party, Zhao Ziyang. So very,
Wow.
very popular. It's completely available on YouTube. It's on, I think, Prime Video. It's on, I think, I don't know if it's on Tubi, but it probably is. Tubi has everything. Tubi's the best.
No, you're not supposed to say that stuff until after we have advertising secured.
Yeah, and it won a bunch of it won the Chinese Golden Eagle Award, which is like their Emmy basically for like best television series. Very, very well loved, very popular, and I enjoyed it. And
I
I
enjoyed it, and I can also understand why it's so well loved. It's just a fun little romp, man.
It is a fun romp, and for saying that, and I mean I believe it because we know that like historically, like Chinese communist governments in Asia were very like restrictive of what people could see and experience. The makeup on Wukong especially is fantastic and looks like looks like someone learned a hell of a lot of lessons from like the Planet of the Apes movies.
I was gonna say, yeah, that his makeup does come across pretty Planet of the Apesy, actually.
But yeah, I liked the costuming. Like you said, the costuming is all so on point that you like never get the characters mixed up with each other. I really liked
Yeah.
that aspect to it. And it's so colorful and it's like a very fun watch. I would recommend it to like, especially if you've been listening to our show and enjoying our show. I think, and you enjoy the things we've talked about on our show. I think you'll like it, especially the battle sequences can sometimes be a tad frustrating because you want them to just go just a little harder, but there's some really good like choreography and wire work and stuff like that, and some real charm to the battle sequences too.
Yeah, I second all of that. I also give it a recommendation, and just a quick shout out because I know we've mentioned like the exaggerated motions of a lot of the actors, but the Ling Tong, the actor for Wukong, that man sells that his character is a monkey. Like all of the little
Yeah.
actions that you can see him do in any given scene, even if he doesn't have like he's not like speaking in the moment, he's always doing some little thing to try and convey, I'm not a person in a monkey costume. I am a monkey.
Yes, he holds his hands in front of him like the way
Or
monkeys
he'll
do.
have
Like,
little moments where he'll have like a tick where like he scratches his ear or something like that, and it comes
yeah,
across very very like an animal as opposed to a person.
Yes. He also he again, I say this like learned from Planet of the Apes because he walks with that like like very side to side motion
Hmm.
as if like a monkey, like an ape, his hips were not placed exactly the way a human being's hips are. I think that's like that is like there's a fantastic level of detail to his performance that I would love to learn more about. I'm like borderline disappointed that I didn't see anything, and it might just be something that people don't really know about, or that he's never spoken about, or that he's never been asked about. But like,
Hmm.
you know, did he go to the zoo and like observe monkeys? Like, I would not be
That's what
surprised
I
to
was
find that
thinking.
out.
I remember there in one of the earlier episodes, the way he's like bouncing around and like sitting down on stuff and like constantly going through things, and I'm just like, did that man just go to a zoo and watch monkeys for like a couple
I mean,
weeks? What is going?
I wouldn't be surprised. You know, the suit actor who played Godzilla originally, Haruo Nakajima, he went to the zoo and like observed all the animals, like apes, especially, and gorillas most more so. But he like went and observed how animals move to try and give his performance less of a man in a suit performance and more of a creature type of performance. He didn't want it to look like a man walking around in the suit. So I wouldn't be surprised to hear another actor going to that level of detail and that extent at all.
Oh yeah, definitely, definitely. But at the same time, like that physicality really stands out to me. But like at the same time, all of the other actors really do put in good performances. Like it
Right,
doesn't
I
come
think
across as like hacky or anybody's trying to like phone it in or anything. Everyone went into this clearly with a vision of doing their best.
right. Yeah, and I think in some cases the peaking opera of it I think actually really helps. I think with Zhu Baji it makes him like he's supposed to be like a over the top, colorful, ridiculous type of creature.
Hmm.
And so that comes across really well. The pageantry and the stylistic movement and that like level of grace that all of the heavenly beings have really lends a lot to their performances there.
Yeah.
So that's all like really good stuff too.
I also think it helps with the a lot of the visual effects too, because the way that they stage everything makes it feel like a play. So you're not expecting over the top special effects because you're thinking more stage play.
Right.
So when they
Yeah.
do bust stuff out, it's like, oh, now instead of it like not like me laughing at it, it's like, oh wow, they actually decided to like incorporate some visual effects into this stage play. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, don't get me
So
wrong, they still look terrible, but
all
it
of
was a
the
slight shift in perspective.
all of the like visual effects, yeah, do not hold up like all the
Like
compositing and
you can see
stuff.
they tried to do like green screen, but the chroma key was for black, so like even the shadows of the people in front of the green screen for getting chromed out.
Whoops.
Oopsie.
But no, there's I oh I really liked I really liked the Buddha part with the giant hands or the giant
Yeah.
fingers sticking out. I thought that part was great too. I liked the giant fingers and then him peeing on them.
Like I said,
So
not surprised they stuck him under a mountain for 500 years.
right, exactly. So yeah, that's 1986's Journey to the West and our first interaction with it. And definitely you can see the seeds of a lot of things that are in Dragon Ball, but you can also very like I see both kind of points of view, I guess I'll say. Like I can see how Toriyama thought to himself, "Hey, I want to base my main character off of this character, but I can't have him be such an unlikable little piss pot for
At
the
least
first."
right off. At least not when the readers meet him.
Right, right. And then I also then see the point of view of Ling Tong, the actor who thinks that like Goku doesn't truly embody the spirit of the character because he's doesn't have like a redemptive arc to him.
Yeah.
I see both pieces of that. So it is like interesting just kind of comparing and putting those two things up against each other. But I liked this watch.
Yeah, I don't always know how these are going to go when you introduce what we're going to be watching. I was prepared for this to be way worse than it actually is, so I found it to be a pleasant surprise, and I hope folks take some time because I mean it's on YouTube for free. All you just need to do is, if you're looking for like a video to watch during your lunch break or something like that, bam, there you go. That's a perfect one right there. And
Exactly.
you know you'll have an opportunity to kind of take in something that's from this sort of weird corner of history, and it has just a lot of charm.
Agreed.
So, have you decided why you can't use your powers for good instead of torment?
What?
Well, usually when we record an episode and you leave a topic hanging before we get into the main Dragon Ball discussion, you circle back around and close out the previously open subject.
There's nothing usual about our October episodes, though. What fantastic topic will cap our Dragon Ball-oween for the month of October? Find out next time and help us achieve our final forum.
Final Form is written and produced by Tom Gwelly. It is performed by Dan Kinney and Tom Gwelly. Our webmaster is Dan Kinney. Our theme music is provided by YouTube content creator GVG Kit. Want to learn more about the Dragon Ball universe, including concept art, behind-the-scenes interviews, and recommendations from Jelli and Bekinney? Connect with us on social media. Like us on Facebook. Follow us on Twitter at Final Forum Pod. Make sure to subscribe, rate, and review wherever you receive your podcasts. And of course, make sure to share it with your friends and family and help us spread the word of the glory of Lord Frieza. The Frieza Force thanks you for your listenership.